YouTube people. Today, a fun walk down memory lane. This actually happened while I was gone. Starstock. Remember Starstock? We're going to have a pandemic blast here. Starstock on the end of October is finally completely shutting down. Now, they have basically been dead for a few years now, but this will officially mark their final day, as they have posted on Instagram that the site is fully being scuttled. And for those of you that weren't around peak pandemic, no single company captured the sports card pandemic craziness better than Starstock did. If you weren't around for the Starstock days, it was a brief moment in time. It was about a 6-month period, late 2020 into early 2021 was a hell of a time to be a Starstock user. Money was insane. I'm going to pull up. I logged into my account. Some of the cards still in my account are hilarious. Some of the transactions that I made were hilarious. For those that weren't around, the best way that I could describe Starstock would be a modern take on ComC. Their whole shtick was they would rate them A, B, and C. You could sell graded cards on there as well, but the raw card grading, the A, the B, and the C, was wild stuff. Starstock A's would sell for a strong premium, like BGS 9.5 pricing in a lot of cases. It was crazy. The inventory on the platform was extremely limited because not a lot of cards were sent in yet. And it would make these random cards spike in price because of the constrained nature. One of the more famous moments on the channel, once again, this is going to be peak pandemic territory. Bull, the legend, Bull, was in a bubble practice game. Yes, when the NBA came back, they were in the NBA bubble. And they did a couple warm-up games prior to starting up the playoffs that year. And Bull got a little bit of run. And that is when I became Starstock rich. I bought, I don't even remember what it was. I could pull it up and go back and look, but I don't feel like scrolling all the way through it. I bought a bunch of low-dollar Bull base cards. He had an insane first half. And I was 10 to 15 Xing my money on Bull cards. Maybe it was 5 to 10x. Regardless, I was printing money on those Bull cards that I had bought literally 20 minutes earlier. And because, I want to sum this up again, because he had a good half in a practice game. That's how desperate we were for literally anything. We had gone months with no live sports. And then I spun that money forward in the buying more nonsense. And the way that it would work back then was, especially NBA, you would almost be like DFS. You would find out a player was out. People would run to go buy the replacement of that player. Some real random ass names. They would have a good quarter. Their prices would skyrocket, and then you would just instantly sell and make a ton of money. DeAndre Hunter, Prism A's, raw, base, would sell for like $70. It is so hard to explain unless you live through it. Here are, I pulled up my activity feed here. This is from 2021. Another channel legend, Kevin Porter Jr. As a Cavs fan, I stacked a ton of this dude's stuff. He got hot in early 2021, and I sold a ton of it. And then he went crazy, and now he's actually relevant again, crazily enough. These are PSA 10 base Prism Kevin Porters. Bot price $100, sold $165. Bot price $100, sold $170. Bought for $100, sold for $150. Bought for $100, sold for $130. I went dead even on that one. Wild stuff. Here's some base ones. A lot of KPJ action here. Another one. Bought for $100, sold for $125. Here's a Donovan Mitchell base raw Prism in a Starstock B. Not even an A. Bought for $50, sold for $68. Fernando Tatis Topps Chrome base. Bought for $370, sold for $475. I took a bath on Sekou Doumbouya. They all can't be winners. Took a bath on Tyler Hero. Just scrolling through here is like a trip down memory lane. Dylan Windler. Here's a Colin Sexton that I bought for $270. Imagine buying a Colin Sexton base Prism and a PSA 10 for $270. I don't know what's crazier, buying it for $270 or selling it for $365. I wonder if this is the game when he went off for like 40 points or something crazy. I feel like I remember that. Here's a DeAndre Hunter, Starstock A, bought for $40, sold for $46. You really can't make some of this stuff up. This was actually like real life. I took a bath on that DeAndre Hunter. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, another super popular one. It's a quick flip back in the day. Oh, there's some bowl action. I lost some money on those bowls. Darius Baisley. Imagine spending $50 on a Darius Baisley Starstock A. Took an $8 hit on that one. I don't know the time frames on these. Here's some bowl action for you. Bought for $31, sold for $40. Keldon Johnson, another. Look at these ones. Oh my God. This is so fun. Like a live reaction to a trip down memory lane. Keldon Johnson, Starstock A's, buying for $44, $44, and $45. Selling, once again, these are raw base Prisms for $73, $74, and $80. What are these right now? About a $3 card? Maybe. Here's another one. Bought for $44, sold for $80. This, if you weren't around during the peak pandemic, folks, this was the peak of the sports cards pandemic. I don't know what to tell you. Here's a Darius Baisley I flipped from $20 to $45. I lost my ass on that Rui Hachimura. Troy Brown. This is a perfect example of what I was talking about. These guys, you'd find out they were starting. They'd have a good quarter, and you would make $4 to $5 a card right there, just instantly. What else do we have? This is fun. I'm gonna keep this. I don't know if this is boring or good entertainment. I didn't insert any clips into the middle of this, so it's probably bad content. But what are you gonna do? Donovan Mitchell PSA 9 from 125 to 165. Anyway, I could literally just keep scrolling through this for days. Here's an OG Anunoby, bought for 45, sold for 65. Jacob Pottle. Robert Williams. The names just keep on coming. Grant Williams. We're flipping Grant Williams. We're into 2020 here. But eventually this all came crashing down. Now, Isaiah Roby. What? How many people do you know are flipping Isaiah Roby cards, buying them for $3 and selling them for $7 back? Look at this. Look at this. I was printing money on Isaiah Roby. Oh my goodness gracious. What a Dylan Brooks flipping, more Keldon Johnson flipping. This was the peak pandemic. And then it all came to an end. It all went sideways. A few things happened. Sports card prices tanked. More inventory got on there. They ran into delays, both in uploading and shipping. Things went sideways. They had just launched a very interesting program with direct to grading through PSA. And they got results back from their first batch of Starstock A's, and it actually went pretty well. And I think what screwed them is they got one order off. The second order got caught up in the PSA shutdown and massive backlog of early 2021. And I think that sucked a lot of the momentum out. They then, once things started spiraling, they got into sealed wax, which was actually kind of interesting. I would pack up a truck and drive it to somewhere right now if I could trust them, if it was a reputable company that did it, for a sealed wax version of ComC or the PSA Vault. There's a very few companies I would trust with the amount of inventory that I have. But if I could vault all that, if some company comes up with a way to vault sealed wax that you don't have to hold it in your own possession anymore, that's $1 million idea. Probably not, because it probably costs a fortune for secure storage and it takes up a ton of space. It would be an absolute nightmare. But if someone could figure that one out, sign me up. Sign me up. But they dabbled in sealed wax. They got into breaking. In some ways, Starstock was ahead of its times. And in some ways, they could not get out of their own way. They started overpromising and under-delivering. Things started to fall apart. And then it just went sideways. And then they just kind of lost it. I think the biggest thing that killed them was the market tanked. And then no one wanted all those low-end base cards. They got absolutely flooded with trash because everyone was sending in all those junk cards, and it bogged down their intake, and they couldn't hire fast enough. And then I don't know if the money was there to justify all the employees. The whole thing was a mess. But no company sums up the peak of the sports card pandemic market than Starstock. I mean, you saw it with the prices as we were scrolling through. Those are real transactions. Those are my transactions. Absolutely crazy, crazy stuff. I remember we would be in I think it was a sports card investor Discord, and they created us our own channel for just Starstock stuff. And it would just be a feeding frenzy in there. Hell of a ride. Pour one out today wherever you sit for Starstock. Gone too soon, but not forgotten. Actually, they probably will be forgotten. They now go by the same path as HGA. Though I guess HGA has not technically made a formal announcement, I don't think. Have they? And I forgot? I don't remember. I'm still in New York City brain. Good old Starstock. Wild ride, but all good things must come to an end. Curious for your thoughts and comments down below. Did you have any experience on the Starstock flip game? Tell me some of your Starstock war stories if you got them. Or did you miss out? Did you miss out on these wild times being had over there? Catch boys and girls on the next one. Peace.